Hey everybody, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're going to be looking at the DC Direct DC Essentials DCeased Batman. This is essentially a zombie Batman from the DCeased storyline. So let's go ahead and check out the packaging here. DC Essentials DCeased Batman. Here he is, all bloodied up, looking hungry for some human flesh. No accessories. DC Direct from the source. This is the 27th figure in the DC Essentials line. Got the DC logo up top. The top, we got DCeased. One side, Batman over here, the figure. At the bottom, there is a bunch of credits and a barcode in case that helps anybody. And then on the back, here's the rest of this DCeased wave. We've got Batman, Joker, Aquaman, and Green Lantern. So with no further ado, let's open them up. And I did end up getting two of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, the other one to keep unopened in my complete 6 and 7 inch Batman-related unopened action figure collection. And this guy was part of a huge lot of figures I got in the mail. Huge haul today. Just look at all that awesomeness. The place I pre-ordered most of these DC Collectibles figures from ended up falling through, so I tracked them down, and what are the odds they all came the same day? Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all of his accessories laid out. And that was kind of a joke, as he comes with absolutely no accessories. Now this is the 4th DC Essentials Batman they've made, and they're all essentially the same figure re-release with just a couple of slight differences. But I'm a sucker for variants, and a zombie Batman, I mean, how can you go wrong? What a cool variant. So, this is from the comic DCeased. A little bit gimmicky, got the sort of zombie apocalypse in the DC universe. Zombies are so popular nowadays, mix them with DC superheroes, and you get DCeased. So let's take a look at the figure. Looking at his head here, and that's the coolest part of this guy. It looks pretty sick, pretty gruesome. He's got a chunk missing out of his cheek. Blood all over him. Got some damage on the cowl here. Going down, he's got some blood on his chest. Some paint damage on his shoulder and his chest. I do like it. Yeah, they took a cheap route out. Didn't actually sculpt anything on a lot of these parts. At least they did something up here. But it looks cool. It's a cool variant. Looks like we've got double jointed elbows. Double jointed knees. Overall, looking forward to this figure, and he looks pretty cool. And just like on pretty much all the DC Essentials figures, his hands can pop out with complete ease, so you could potentially swap it with another DC Essentials Batman's hands. I went ahead and threw on the hands from the Series 1 DC Essentials Batman. The paint isn't a perfect match, but it's pretty close. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, sitting at about 7.0 inches, which is going to translate to a hair under 18 centimeters. And now, let's look at his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. Can look up about that far, and down about that far, which is very nice. Shoulders are a ball joint. They can go out about 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. It's got a bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows below that. They can go all the way in. His wrist can rotate around, and it's going to be hinged as well. He has an ab crunch in the middle, and mine is pretty tight. Legs go out about that far, can pretty much completely do the splits. More or less a ball joint there. Then go forward that far. Back about that much. It's got a thigh cut below that. Double jointed knees below that. His ankle here go up, down. It can rotate, and it can't tilt rock unless you rotate the ball around. Kind of like so. Here's this zombie Batman leading a pack of zombie Robins through the streets of Gotham, looking for a meal. And here they are, feasting on some members of the GCPD. Here's a look at Batman Alone, feasting on some cops. And you can also use these deceased heroes as some bloodied up heroes in a big battle. As you can see, we got a bunch of parademons. Got Darkseid taking out the Justice League. Looking like they're just damaged, beat up to a bloodied pulp, and almost surrendering. And you got all the parademons keeping an eye. Next, let's check them out compared with some other action figures. Starting off with the rest of the deceased figures. Here he is, next to the entire Series 1 of Deceased. We've got Green Lantern, Aquaman, Batman, and the Joker. Now the Batman here is the only one that's damaged severely enough in his face so that you can't really use him as a bloodied up version of Batman. Green Lantern, Aquaman, they look like they could have been in a long drawn out fight. And the Joker there looks like he just finished with Jason Todd. Now Series 2 of Deceased is supposed to have Harley Quinn, Supergirl, Superman, and The Flash. And I was really looking forward to Harley Quinn as well as the others. But I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen at this point. DC Direct essentially died, and we got these figures. Not sure if we're actually going to get the rest of what we've seen. And I'm pretty sure that I saw an unpainted Deathstroke, Red Hood, and Nightwing a long time ago. But I'm pretty confident we'll never see those. Here he is, next to all 4 of the DC Collectibles, DC Essential Batman figures they've made. And they're pretty much all in the same body. There is a 5th one upcoming. That's from a Justice League 6-pack. Not sure if that's actually going to come out or not. The Batman looked a little bit different. His belt was all gold. So this was the Series 1 Rebirth Batman. Then they made the Nightfall Batman, pre-New 52 Batman, pretty cool. Then we have the Deceased Batman, and now we have a Rebirth version 2.0. Here are all the different DC Essentials figures I have that use the same buck. The same torso, same arms, same legs for the most part between all these figures. And I'm certain that Flash, Reverse Flash, Green Lantern, and Superman also use the same body. Now, they use a lot of reuse in this line, and that's kind of annoying, but I still think these figures look pretty good. They move pretty good, and they're scaled up pretty nicely. 7 inches tall, they fit it with McFarlane decently. I was definitely one of the DC Essential supporters, and I hate to see this line go. These are all the DC Essentials figures that I have in my collection. Very nice line. I would say my favorite are going to be Nightfall Batman, Nightfall Catwoman, Cheetah, and Red Hood, although they all look very sharp. Here he is, next to the entire Doomsday Clock line. Although not technically part of the DC Essentials line, I consider it to be a spin-off and part of the DC Essentials line. It uses a lot of the same bodies and articulation. Now let's check him out, next to some other zombie figures. You saw these guys earlier in the video, but here he is, next to some Resident Evil zombie cops. Here he is, next to some Mattel wrestling zombie figures. And next to a Jazzwares Fortnite zombie. And now, let's look at him next to some evil Batman figures. Here he is, next to a vampire Batman from the Elseworlds comic Red Rain. Here he is, next to a bunch of evil McFarlane DC Multiverse Dark Knight's Metal Batman figures. Now, let's check him out, compared with some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. We'll try to focus our comparisons with as many Batman figures as we can throughout the different lines. Here he is with some of his DC Direct and DC Collectibles brothers. In front of you are 5 different Batman figures from DC Direct. And here he is with some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some McFarlane Multiverse Batman figures. And here, next to some NECA Batman figures. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods Batman figures. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Batman figures. And next to some Mafex Batman figures. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts Batman figures. And finally, here he is, next to some Jazwares Fortnite figures. So overall, I think this figure is pretty cool. An evil, creepy, grotesque zombie Batman. I mean, what's there not to love about this? He does have some stuff going against him. The reuse. I mean, DC Essentials reuses more stuff than Mattel was, and that is a bold statement. No accessories. The articulation actually is pretty nice. I'm fond of the paint job, although they could have made a little alteration to the sculpt on some of those scratches in his suit. I will say they definitely changed his cheek, and in a few parts of the cowl, you've got some actual sculpted damage and some scratches on the ear and the top of the head. Overall, this is very gimmicky, zombie heroes, but it works for me. I like this guy a lot. There's not a lot of action figure scenarios I can use him in, but he's definitely going to get some good use in some nightmare type scenes, maybe some Scarecrow Fear Toxin, etc. If I were to rate this guy, I think I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. Just the cool factor alone pushes the score up. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you like the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Keep an eye out for the rest of my reviews on the DC Collectibles, DC Direct, DC Essentials, DCeased figures. Enough DC in there. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.